सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Hari Om. It's been almost 4 months that we have had a yajna here. Feels good to be back. The Upanishads are the very crux, the sara of the entire Vedic literature that we have. These Upanishads are also known as Vedanta. Sometimes, by the pronunciation mistake, it is also misunderstood as meant for Vedanta. Vedanta in Hindi means those who have reached to that stage of life wherein they have no teeth left. And it rhymes well, Vedanta for the Vedanta. But anybody who wants to get a grip on their life, living and bring in a transformation, Upanishads are the place to start from. The reason these Upanishads are also called as Vedanta is we find that in and through these Vedic literature, before Maharshi Vedavyasji, we did not have a very constructed format. There were different schools which would teach various samhitas, segments of Vedas, and it was given in from one part or one guru to the next disciples. And it was a mammoth task taken up by Maharshi Vedavyasji that even today we celebrate in his honor the Guru Purnima, that he travelled across, compiled all these samhitas together, and somebody who is trying to bring in a change into the existing system is not always that welcomed into the environment. People think that he is a crazy person. So, until then there was this tradition of Shravana, wherein the student listens to the teacher, and with the process of listening, which was so intense that they would learn it through their listening process only. That is why it is called Shruti. But then he went one step ahead. He said, for the rest of the humanity, if we need to have this literature intact, we need to compile it all, bring it together. So he traveled across and brought this Vedanta, brought this entire Vedas together. And then he formed them into 4 major books. These 4 major books are called Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama and Atharva Veda. Traditionally, the first 3, Rig, Yajur, Sama, they were practiced in between the Ganga and Yamuna river delta. Atharva Shakha was practiced to the west of Sindhu Nadi. So he had to travel there, gather this, learn it from them, memorize it himself, come back, teach it to his students, and then ask them to start writing it, scribing it. And then the proofreading, and it's a laborious task. And he put all of them together, and he brought in a system to this Vedic literature and its learning process. So according to his envisioning, the Vedas, the 4 of them, 4 books, 4 major categories, each book has several themes. These themes are called Samhita. These Samhitas, each one of these deal with a certain subject matter. And each one of these Samhitas was further divided into 4 categories. Those 4 categories are called Mantra, Brahmana, Aranyaka and Upanishads. Since the last part of every segment that you can think of in the Vedic literature comes down to Upanishads, it was also known as Vedanta. And the reason why they are called Upanishads, Upa means to take someone closest to. That is why the fasting is also called Upavasa. Upavasa, taking us closest to that Lord. Though today we think fasting means only of the food. Fasting can mean so many things. Fasting means, or actually has to mean, withdrawal from indulgences in various aspects of our life. Complete withdrawal. So that we can pull that mind towards the Lord and seat ourselves closest to that truth. Similarly here, the entire word Upanishad has these 3 words in it, Upa, Ni and Sat. Upa means closest, Ni means Nishchayena, firmly, Sat, Sat meaning that which takes us, guides us closest to the truth, Sat. That which guides, and in that process of guiding, Sat also has a meaning of destruction. What destruction? The destruction of wrong conceptions. These concepts, when they are removed, the destruction of the very interactional layer called ego, which takes us closest to the truth. And those pointers, indicators are given in these Upanishads. How many are these Upanishads? When you look at the content of the Upanishads, you can say there is only one Upanishad, because it talks about one truth only. But they have been expressed in various environments, so we find many of them. Of these many, 108 of them are authenticated by none other than Hanumanji himself in a Upanishad called Muktiko Upanishad, in which he enlists these 108 Upanishads. Of these 108 Upanishads, 10 are considered very, very important. If the content is the same, it is talking about the same truth. How come 10 of them are called very important, the rest of them are not called that important? The importance comes into picture when these various masters who had started these different schools of thought within the Hindu realm. What kind of schools of thoughts? Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita, Advaita, and there are many more. These three are the most famous ones. Often we interact with these three major differences. So, whenever they had to present their school of thought, their thought had to be justified in explaining three major scriptures. One is the Upanishads, the second one is called the Bhagavad Gita, and the third is the Brahma Sutras written by Veda Vyasji. So, all these three put together are called Prasthana Traya. So, they have to comment on it, and not just that they have to comment, like in today's world when somebody is trying to present a thesis for their PhD, they have to first present their topic and then they have to work on providing lot of documentation, and then finally they have to stand up for various angles of their theories being questioned, and then finally it gets approved. Similarly, whenever these masters had to present their school of thought, after having worked on this Prasthana Traya, they would take it to the educated, and in their presence, when they were questioned, the ability to answer them flawlessly would establish that school of thought. And when the Upanishads were commented, 10 of them were considered as a common platform. Isha, Kena, Katha, Prashna, Munda, Mandukya, Taitriya, Aitriya, Burhadaranyaka, Chandogya, 10 of them. These 10 were commented by Ramanujacharya, these 10 were commented by Adi Shankaracharya, these 10 were commented by the Nimbarkacharya, various such schools of thoughts. They had to present their thought on these 10 Upanishads, 700 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita and 555 sutras of Brahma Sutras. The other Upanishads, in a very literary sense, they were recognized as minor Upanishads. Minor, when they call it, in no sense does it mean that the content is minor, because it is talking about one supreme self, and in no sense that content can be called minor. Because it was not commented by these masters, they are considered as minor in a literary sense. So, one of the most famous ones in these minor Upanishads we come across in the Arthava Veda, and it is a very famous one too. If you start researching on Ganesha Arthava Sheersha or Ganapati Arthava Sheersha or Sheershopanishat, Ganesha Arthava Sheershopanishat or Ganesha Upanishad, various names for the same one, we get lot of discrepancies. What kind of discrepancies? Some, whenever there is a research scholar who wants to identify the timeline of our Vedic literature, confusion begins. One of the important factors is they are apaurusheya. Apaurusheya, they are not written by, authored by anybody. The knowledge thus carried is eternal, and that knowledge which is eternal, to trying to put it in a timeline, it causes lot of unnecessary confusion. So, you would find somebody commenting that this Upanishad came into picture in about 18th or 19th century, which is when there was a lot of bhakti movement in Maharashtra, and during that bhakti movement, one of the prominent god forms that were invoked were Lord Ganesha, and hence therefore came in the worship, and various Puranas around Ganesha also came in around that time. So, there is a lot of discrepancy when you go in with the understanding of timeline, but if you put that aside and take to the orthodox school thought that the knowledge is eternal, and these Upanishads carry that one supreme reality as the point of focus. Now, if it is that one point of focus is that supreme reality, why is it specifically being called as Ganesha Arthava Sheershopanishat? Arthava because it is in the Arthava Veda. Why is it called Ganesha? So, in our Vedic literature, because bhakti, that word, we do not find it in the Vedas, we find it in the later literature, later Sanskrit. Bhakti in those days was recognized as Upasana. Upasana was also a part and parcel of spiritual evolution. This particular Upanishad focuses on both aspects of Ganesha, one being the Saguna Sakara, the second one being Nirguna Nirakara. Saguna Sakara, Saguna, that which is with attributes, Sakara, that which is with a certain form. The second aspect, Nirguna Nirakara, attributeless and the formless reality. So, when we always look at the idea of God in our Sanatana Dharma, both are equally acceptable. That one supreme reality, Paramatma, expresses forth in different forms, and one of the forms is Lord Ganesha's form. Back in our age-old practices, time and again in history we have seen predominance of certain form of bhakti, certain form of upasana catching like a wildfire. As soon as that form of devotion gets very popular, then you can find a lot of people who are not just devotees, but are transformed into fanatics. So, there were 5 such schools or sects. What are these sects? So, we recognize them by their color code or symbol on their forehead. So, if there are vertical lines or horizontal lines, so, Lord Shiva, then there is Vishnu. If there are any Tamilians, they will tell me that there are 2 kinds even in those. One is a U format, the other one is a V format. If I am not wrong, Tengalai and Vadagalai, I think that is what it is. If there is any Tamilian, you can vouch for it. Okay, there are. So, one are called, those who are worshippers of Shiva, they were called as Shaiva. Those who were worshippers of Vishnu, they were called Vaishnava. Those who are worshippers of Shakti, they were called Shakta. Those who are worshippers of Bhagavan Surya, they were called Saurya. And the last one is those who are worshippers of Ganeshji, they were called Ganapatya. And each one of them, the way they would bring out in the Puranas or you see their literature, and for any ordinary Hindu reading through these different Puranas or different subjects on these different sects, it's very confusing. Why? Each one of them claims that that form of God is the ultimate reality. Shiva is the ultimate reality, and that form of Shiva has given scope to the rest of the deities to express. In order to remove that confusion, let me take you step by step why that confusion exists and remove that confusion. That Paramatma that we call in Vedanta, Paramatma, the Supreme Being, that Paramatma is recognized by the Vaishnavas as Narayana. There is a difference between Narayana and Vishnu. Okay. That Narayana, when he comes down in the form of taking care, sustaining the creation, he is called Vishnu. And that Vishnu who comes down into the into this earth to protect, and this is called avatars of Vishnu. Otherwise, that Paramatma, according to the Vaishnava Sampradaya, is called Narayana. And from that Narayana came forth Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara and the other Shaktis. When we go into the Shaiva Sampradaya, the same Paramatma that we call in Vedanta is recognized as Sadashiva. And that Sadashiva, when he comes down to in the Kameshwara, Kameshwari, and they merge to become one, it is called the Ardhanarishwara. And there is the Adi Tandava. Adi Tandava, there are two kinds of Tandavas. Adi Tandava is supposed to be more benign one. Pralaya Tandava, the one which is at the end. If somebody is really, mad and jumping, so some of, between our Swamis and who know these language, they say, Adi Tandava ki Pralaya Tandava? What is it? Is it the benign one or the other one, destructive one? So in the beginning, when they both came together, Adi Parashakti, no, not Adi Parashakti, Parvati, and in the form of Kameshwari, and Lord Shiva in the form of Kameshwara, they merge to become Ardhanarishwara. Then from them emerges out Brahma, Vishnu and Rudra. Rudra is the destructor. When you go into the Shakta, they call as Adi Parashakti. And from that Adi Parashakti came forth all these Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, and each one of them having Saraswati, Lakshmi and Parvati. All of them are the Amsha of that Adi Parashakti. Similarly, those who are Ganapatya, they worship Lord Ganesha, and that primordial form, that which we call in Vedanta as Paramatma, is recognized as Mahaganapati. Usually Mahaganapati, the description is with 4 arms, Pashankushadhara, Modaka Hasta. These are the definitions. We will look into that as we move forward. And from that Mahaganapati came Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Saurya, the worshippers of Surya, they worship that Paramatma in the name of Surya Narayana or Arka Narayana. Arka is another name of Surya. And from him comes out these 3 murtis, trinities. But what they are referring to essentially is that same supreme alone. Different nomenclature, different ways of identifying that Paramatma. And when the animosity between these different sects, that my form of Lord is greater than your form of Lord, confusion maximum. And they take it to the farthest extent, that all these worshippers of Shiva have to be annihilated, all these worshippers of Vishnu have to be removed, destroyed. If you look at the stories in our history, you will find enough of that. Fanatics. So by the time Adi Shankaracharya ji came into picture, he saw this extensive damage because of sectarian confusions. So he brought in a beautiful system called Panchayatana Puja. And if you look at Adi Shankaracharya's, when he was a visionary, so what did he do? He has written stotras on every form of God that you can think of. Name a God and I will find a stotra for you. Authored by, written by Adi Shankaracharya. Either it is a Panchakam, Shatkam, Ashtakam, Dashakam, and his usual format of the stotra or stuti is very simple. His formula is amazing. Say he is doing a Panchakam, Ganesha Pancharatna. The first 4 shlokas describe the greatness and great stories about Ganeshji. The last shloka, he identifies that Saguna Sakara as the very Nirguna Nirakara Parabrahma Paramatma, and he says everything is nothing but that Paramatma alone. So his focus being identifying all these different forms as an expression of that one supreme alone. And when he brought in this Panchayatana Puja, he said, let us stop quarreling amongst each other as to who is great or who is not. See, when somebody says, my mommy is the greatest. See, greatest is a comparative word. But at that point when somebody is expressing their love saying that my mom is the greatest, are they saying in comparison with other moms out there? When they say, mom, you are the greatest. No, they are not talking in comparison with other moms out there, saying that the other moms are worst, better than or the best of them all is you. No, they are not talking in terms of comparison. It is just a way of expressing their love or implicit love towards that person. Similarly, he said, you may have extensive devotion for that form of God, but let us not have animosity that that form alone is the truth. There are others and that form also can be accepted. Hence, therefore, he merged this and he said on the altar you have 5 points, 4 corners and in the middle. Say there are people who are worshipping Bhagavan Shiva. So you put the Shiva Linga in the middle. Ganesh ji, Shakti or Shri Chakra and Saurya and Vishnu, Shaligrama. So you put all of them in that corner. Pradhanyataha, the most focused puja is on that form of Lord that you can relate to. But having them on that same altar, there is no animosity. So supposing you are worshipping Devi, whichever form of Devi, and you put that Sri Chakra in the middle and the rest of them in the 4 corners. So he tried building that bridge between all these different sects to bring in home that point that any form of expression of God is nothing but that Paramatma expressing. So in the Upasana Kanda, there is a, in Upasana Kanda of our Vedas, there is a elaborate mention of different Upasana methods. But in that Karma Kanda and Upasana Kanda portions, they often do not conclude with the Vedantic thought. Their conclusions often end with, whenever there is a karma performed, a puja performed, there is a certain desire. Performed with certain desires, these processes, when they are taken note of and you perform it accordingly, then your desires will be fulfilled. So, most of the karma kanda ends up with being sakama puja. Sakama, there is a certain, like there is putra kameshti. Putra kameshti, there is the husband and wife, they come together, like Dasharath ji. So, he came and then he performed the putra kameshti yaga, and meticulously to be performed. Having performed which, there is a end result, sakama puja. But then, by the time we come to the upasana evolving into nishkama, it takes the Vedantic standpoint. It merges into the Vedantic standpoint. Such final points of upasana are also recognized as Upanishads. One of such is the Ganapati Arthava Sheershopanishat. Since this falls in the category of Arthava Shakha, we start this Upanishad with the Shanti Mantra, which is a part of Arthava Veda. If you have the book of hymns, then you should have this in that book of hymns. Are you having a book of hymns there? What is the page number? Book of hymns, it is on page number 290. And if you are following the folders that are there outside the temple, what is the page number, sir? Oh, depends on different languages. Okay, I will not get into that. Those of them who are watching online can download these from the web in the resources section, and whichever language suits you, download that. We should have it in Sanskrit, Kannada, Telugu and English. So, whichever is comfortable, you can download that and you can follow along. But this one, most of us should know it, but still chant after me. Om Bhadram Karnebhihi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyema Akshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Tushtuvam Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravaha Swasti nah Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti nastarksho arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspati'r dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bhadram karne bhihi shrunuyama devaha. So, this whole platform of learning is when we are alert, available and open. Open for what? Open for listening attentively without judgmental blocks. See, many a times not realizing, having a book in the hand with the meaning is more detrimental than not having a book at all. See, many of them who come for the Sunday Bala Vihar and they sit for the Bhagavad Gita classes, especially those who are new, while the shloka's meaning is being given, they are busy doing parallel processing. And what is the parallel processing? Half listening and half reading and instantaneously trying to compare. And depending on when they raise their hand and what kind of question they ask, without looking into what book they are holding, I can tell you who the author is. Because that immediate comparison will effectively lead to that confusion. Like somebody who suddenly, one of these satsangs asked me, but did Bhagavan Krishna actually give Bhagavad Gita or was it Lord Shiva? You finding it funny? For him it was such a blasphemy that the book says something and you are saying something. So then I called out and said, if you are holding that book, please stop reading that book. Or whenever the parallel processing does not work. Upanishads and the Gurukula system of learning encourages every individual seeker to question, investigate thoroughly. But when can our investigation find its thoroughness? Only when we have gotten the concepts clear. If I may, while listening, stop processing also. Just gather the data. Like the cow eats the fodder and then when it finds time, what does it do? Choose on that cut. And back in India, it doesn't matter even if they are in the middle of the road. They are the king of the roads. So take this knowledge, go to your solitude and then start comparing it, analyzing it, reassessing it. And at that Shravan, at that Manana point, when we find some discrepancies, come back with questions. Sometimes it becomes so disruptive that we don't even give the opportunity to complete the thought. Swami ji, I have a question. Pehle complete to karne do. So jovially I keep telling that I have not given enough to confuse you, hold on. Let me confuse you thoroughly, then you can ask questions. So the process of listening is not just because our ears are open and we are trying to listen. It has to be so attentive and it has to be without judgment or calling on it right away. Give it its complete scope of sinking in. Let it be understood. And then compare it with the rest of the data that we have, and then when we have discrepancies, then we can ask questions. sometimes we come with existing baggage. But that Swamiji said like this. So you may find me funnily copying out of such situation. I said, out of syllabus question. I have not created that confusion, so I am not liable for answering it. Okay, whatever is the content that you have heard, put it aside, learn this, and then go home and start mulling on it. Once one of the students of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa requested Ramakrishna Paramahamsa that he wanted to learn Sanskritam. So he sent a note of introduction with his student, with his disciple, to that Sanskrit Pandit in Banaras. So as soon as he went in, because that Sanskrit master was also a disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He was so happy to see another disciple. He hugged him, gave him all hospitality that can be thought of, and then after having settled, he forwards this little note saying that I want to learn Sanskrit. The immediate instruction that Sanskrit master gives is, he says, go outside, leave your Ramakrishna where you have left your chappal, and then come inside. If you and I were there, we would have taken it as a personal insult. How dare you? This is Kashi, your ilaka. Come to Kolkata. No, he understood the standpoint. As long as I am filled with an existing baggage, I am not ready, I am not open for new content to get in. So the ability to listen thoroughly without instant comparison, and to completely understand what is being said and then start processing it. That ability to listen is being mentioned here as Shrunuyama Devaha. May God's bless us that we have this aptitude of keen listening. Bhadram pashye makshabhirya jatraha. One meaning, may I see all bhadram, auspiciousness around. If it is just that limited portion of understanding, miserable is such seeker's life. Why? They start making decisions based on this one line of understanding. Swamiji, I have stopped going to such places, I have stopped meeting such people, I have stopped interacting with such groups. Why? Not auspicious. But we have just stepped into the spiritual realm to begin our journey. Who gave us the authority to decide who is qualified or not? And as we grow, as we move forward in life with various experiences that we come across, we do not have that kind of luxury to avoid circumstances, peoples and things. So that meaning has to evolve to the next level. Whatever I come across, may I take bhadra, auspiciousness alone. This is also just a second stage. The first stage is I avoid everything that is not auspicious. Now, if you go to the highest Vedantic standpoint, show me in this world one thing which is not auspicious. Now, because auspiciousness is not decided based on our likes and dislikes, but that is the first mistake that we do. and we go to such extreme extents. I have stopped eating food from my friends because I hear that it impacts our system. I don't know with what intent they have made. Stop being ridiculous. That is only half the understanding. The other half, when we evolve, is whatever comes my way, let me see auspiciousness alone. And the third stage of seeing is, I don't need to filter, because everything that comes my way is from my Lord alone, and it has come only to uplift me from this existing stage of spiritual evolution to the next. Hence, therefore, everything is auspicious. I just need to open up and learn how to grow from each step, each experience that I come across. See, when we all chant Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, or Guru Sakshat Maheshwaraha, Guru Reva Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, invoking that Guru so that Gurur Brahma, he creates the seeker in me. Guru as Brahma, what kind of creator is he? He has to create that seekerhood in me. Guru Brahma. Guru Vishnu. Many of us have initial enthusiasm. करके दिखा देंगे. So I feel the enthusiasm. So tomorrow early morning 4 o'clock Brahma Muhurta Kala, I wake up and start my meditation. And directly, so far has never done any yoga abhyas or anything, directly sits in Padmasana. After half hour, Are sunte ho? Why, what happened? The leg is frozen, locked in, can't pull out, can't move. I am not exaggerating. I have practically seen such. And after that initial enthusiasm and a little bubble burst, never look back into that path until the next burst of enthusiasm. So that seekerhood has to be sustained. May that Guru help me sustain that seekerhood in the form of Vishnu. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu. And in such sustenance, whatever are the hindrances that come across, may they be destroyed by that Guru in the form of Shiva, Maheshwaraha. Because that Guru that is leading me is trying to teach me, evolve to that stage that I can see, perceive Paramatma, Parabrahma everywhere. That should be the ultimate goal. There is no place which we can say that, a negative vibration, positive vibration. Oh, everything is Paramatma. Oh, Swamiji, when we come into Saket, it's so peaceful. The temple especially is, vibrating, throbbing with energy, vibration. I have to maintain a straight face. ठीक है. And 4-5 days down the lane or 4-5 weeks later, the same person. Swamiji, I thought Chinmay mission, so much of things happening here, politics. Oh, what happened to the vibration? One extreme and then the other extreme. don't get caught up in this dichotomy of trying to brand positive, negative, good, bad. Evolve to that stage. Bhadram Pashye Makshabhir Jayatraha. And thanks to our Ghateji, many of you are learning Sanskritam. So, when you look at, when you have ears, how many ears do you have? I am not asking redundant question, serious question. How many eyes do we have? But here there is a plural used. Where do we find the third ear? Where do we find the third eye? It is the eye of intuition. It is the ear of intuition. Don't listen to what I am saying, listen to what I mean. Because whatever the Upanishads are trying to give, I am trying to express it through words that I know, trying to take your minds to what it is supposed to indicate. For which, oh Lord, bless me that my eye of intuition, my ear of intuition opens up, that I can understand something which is beyond these words, but through the indicators of these words. See, this ultimate truth that is being spoken of, however good vocabulary may be, however poetic we may be able to express, each set of vocabulary and its expression has its limitation. It can only take us so far. And when we open up with this eye of wisdom, that is when we can transcend the words to reach that which the words are trying to point out. Bhadram karne bhishrunuyama devaha bhadram pashye makshabhir jayatraha. And in order to reach to that goal, O Lord, bless us with sthiraihi angaihi. May my limbs be firm, agile but yet firm, not rigid. Once I was with somebody, he is a yoga master. So I said, what is the difference between exercising, going to a gym, exercising, and doing yogasana? So he said, exercising will help different parts of your body, muscular, round figure, what do you, the pecs, you get all that. But then you also start becoming rigid, the body limbs start becoming rigid. But whereas yogasana, it touches every aspect, makes it agile as well as firm. So here the prayer is, may my limbs be firm and agile. Sthiraihi angaihi. Again, many of the spiritual seekers get to a mode of operation which is very detrimental in spiritual growth. Suddenly, there is some physical ailment, and then they take to a standpoint that this is what I have to face, this is my prarabdha. So they will not go to a doctor, they will not take medicines, they will not take anything to relieve their existing pain. And that is extreme. As much as getting that disease is a prarabdha, giving medicines is also prarabdha. Giving food timely is also prarabdha. Or else in the name of spirituality we become so rigid in our practices that we start abusing the system given to us by Lord. Don't be attached to the body, but don't neglect it either. Why? Deho devalaya proktaha jivo deva sanatanaha. This body is the temple for the jiva. And how should the temple be maintained? Clumsy, dirty. You go to some of the temples. For many years, I resisted having, the vibhuti and kumkum there, because I know the crowd coming. So they will put the kumkum, and then you will see the entire wall. Have you gone to Hanuman temples? Orange streaks everywhere that you can find. You go to a Devi temple, you will find all red dots everywhere. Why? I have done, there is little left, put on the walls. See, when we go to the temple, worship that Lord and invoke His blessings, as much as what comes into our life as a problem, its a solution is also a part of prarabdha. We cannot neglect it. And that temple which is given by that Lord has to be maintained in a very sanctified manner. Shuchihi. Shuchihi meaning cleanliness with the spiritual attitude. That it has to be maintained in the right condition, apt condition. Cannot neglect the body. So, O Lord, provide me with the right, agile, fit, firm body. Sthiraihi angaihi tushtuvam sastanubihi. May I enjoy, may I get to interact with whatever comes my way. May I find that satisfaction going through those experiences, because my attitude is to learn from every process. Many of us ruin the education by asking a question. Why is this happening to me? Drop the why. The answer is, this is happening to me. How do I learn and grow? Is there anybody who can really answer why is this happening? So we go to the palm, and the palmist says, to act like a palmist is very easy. Look at their hand, and just to confuse, look at their other hand also. And then with a seriousness carried in your eyes, look at both their palms, look at their face, again look immediately into their palm, and look, and then suddenly shake your head and drop the hands. And then they will think that you are expert in palm reading. The other day in Chitrakoot, there was this person, he said, Panditji, we are going through tough times. I brought our whole family's horoscopes. Can you tell us what is going wrong? So I remembered what Gurudev used to say. So I repeated that immediately. I can't tell you how your future will be, but with what I have learnt, I can teach you how you can handle your present. So don't give me your horoscopes, they are horoscopes for me. whatever is the experience, try not to find why, rather understand this is what life is presenting. How do I make use of this experience to grow from where I am to a better place than what I could be? And then is the best Ashirvada to seek from the Lord. We ask for long life, but here he says, whatever is the life that I am destined to live, may I live a healthy life. Vyashema deva hitam yat ayuhu. Whatever is the ayu as blessed for the prarabdha of this body, may I live it completely in a healthy manner. In one of the houses, Panditji was, one of the Panditjis there, whenever you take blessings, they have the akshata and they chant, Shatamanam bhavati shatayuh purushas shatendriya ayushyevendriye pratitishthati. So immediately the guy who was getting the blessings, he lifted his head and said, oh, no, don't curse us. Why? Who wants to live painful 100 years? See, neither ask for an extension nor ask for a quick relief. Whatever I am destined to live, may I live it so positively and healthily that I make the best of every single experience that comes towards my direction. Vyashema deva hitam yadayuhu. And then he seeks the blessings of all these gods. This mantra, what we learn is the Yajurvediya Shakha. That is how we pronounce it. But if it is the Rigvediya Shakha, there is a little difference. That is what usually is in the North Indian tradition. Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravaha Swasti na Pukha Vishwavedaha Swasti na Starksho Arishtanemihi. It is not that it is wrong, but it is a different shaka of pronunciation or rendition. So, Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravaha. Of all the gods, their leader, Vruddhashravaha, their leader. Who is it? Indra. May that Indra provide me swasti, auspiciousness. May he bless me. May he protect me. Why Indra? Within our system here, our own intellect is called the Indra. Because the intellect is the one who controls, manages mind and its contents, the organs of perception and their interaction, the organs of action and their interaction is controlled by this intellect. The memory also is controlled by this intellect. So, all these devas here are controlled by that intellect, and may this Indra protect me and bring forward auspiciousness by keeping my intellect alert and shining. What does alertness mean? While learning, to have alertness. Otherwise, we get into the lecture mode and everything that I say, you keep agreeing. Alertness. See, that is the exact thing. Dhiyo yonah prachodayat. May my intellect shine forth with this wisdom every single day, every single experience. That whatever I learn, let I apply it in my day-to-day life, leading a conscious life. Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravaha. Swasti naf pusha vishva vedaha. The very embodiment of knowledge. All knowing. Why? Because in his illumination, Pushan, everything is nourished and kept in balance. What will happen if there was no sun in our system? SUN. There will be nothing. Everything is nourished and everything is balanced because of his providence. So, that all knowing sun, may he provide enough so that I can embark this spiritual path effortlessly. And the other way to understand it is, whatever we are getting, it is more than plenty. Because we get what we deserve, though not what we desire. And even what we have, how much percentage of what we have are we really using? Whether it is internal or external. It is said that how much percentage of our brains are we using? Normal, not of Einsteinian cadre, otherwise normal. How much of it is what we are using? $25? 2 to 3%. No? Little higher? Okay, how much? Let the doctor speak. 15 to 20%? Okay. Benefit of doubt. Let's feel good. 15 to 20% of brain a normal human being uses. 80% of it is unused. Okay. Do you all use computers? Desktop, laptop? For what it is potentially worth, how much percent of it do we use? Emailing, surfing, watching movies or YouTube clips, maybe creating a PowerPoint or an Excel sheet. Beyond that, almost 95% of it is not used. Houses that we build, thank you. One space that still, it's a formal dining area. कभी कुछ करते हो वहाँ पे? And that space is built for maybe once in a year, once in 2 years worth use. The rest of the time, keeping it shining clean. Oh Lord, you have given us enough. Give me the Can you hear me? Okay. So like that. Use everything to its maximum, complete utility. We have been provided for already. Swasti nastarksho arishta nemihi. May the Garuda, what is Garuda? That on which the Lord travels. He is also known to be carrying the Vedas. So when the knowledge comes to us, what is the swasti? The swasti is, may I be available when the knowledge is coming in. Just when the download is about to complete, my system crashes. All that which was downloaded, gone. It was not even saved. Similarly, here he says, may that Garuda, who is the carrier of knowledge, bless me by keeping me available and open when the knowledge arrives. It is not that we don't get those messages from the Lord. When we do get, we are either busy out doing nothing or busy in sleeping. But seldom we get the opportunity to stay awake and receive that knowledge. May I receive that knowledge in its entirety. Swasti no Brihaspatir dadhatu. The mention of Brihaspati here, he represents the entire Guru Parampara. See how broad they can be. They are not again sectarian that, my Guru, my Shishya, and caught up in that rut again. Many times wearing these clothes, people, Swami, आपके कितने भक्त हैं? Zero. Because in the mission we are very clear, we are all devotees of Gurudev. So personally कितने? Zero. वो तो आप महात्मा नहीं हो. I said, no, I am not a Mahatma, I am Chota Atma. The opposite of Maha is Chota, so Chota Atma. See, let us not get caught up in that. Guru is not a form, is a principle. May that Guru principle guide, sustain and protect me from myself. More than the world, it is protection from one's own self. May I invoke that swasti from the entire Guru Parampara. Swasti no Brihaspatir dadatu. And then he says, Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Shanti, without that peace, no effort will have stability. Can we focus on the higher spiritual path without having peace within? With the right spelling of peace. P-A-C-E. I told you, I think, long time ago. I was in Chennai. I told you, right? Anyway, listen again. I was in Chennai, and right opposite to our house, there was an open ground. And in that open ground, there was this, they call Christ Swasti Sabha or something, wherein they have these huge meetings, and there is this fellow who is talking in English, and it's being immediately translated into Tamil, and we were watching it from our balcony. A memorable one. Yes. Jesus was a great man. Jesus was a Mahan Purushan. When the intensity of speech and the translators also equally matches. Jesus was a great man. And then he went 2-3 sentences and then suddenly said, Jesus loves peace. And this fellow translates, Jesus pachipatani pudikyum. Let me get over the laugh. Pachipatani means the green peas, the snow peas. Jesus loves peace. He thought it was those. So that's why I'm saying the spelling. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. What kind of peace? The mental peace. Without that firm platform of mental peace, we cannot aim for higher spiritual growth. It's an impossible task. So the prayer here is, there can be 3 kinds of agitations. What are the 3 kinds of agitations? At a physical level, at an emotional level, at an intellectual level. At a physical level, we can understand. This hall is a very good experiment for that. When we want it cold, it is hot. When we want it warm, it gets cold. Physical level, tapa. Tapa is the experience and our reaction to tapa is the papa. See, whenever we react to it, instead of responding, that reaction is called papa. But we go through that tapa. The physical level tapa. The emotional level tapa. There are so many emotions that run by. None of them have a rudder to it. None of them have a direction to it. Running havoc. So, emotional level tapa. Intellectual level tapa. And there is that eczema, itch to explore everything. There is that restlessness, which to an extent is good, but beyond which it is purposeless. So, at these 3 levels, O Lord, provide Shanti, peace. See, many regional languages we use the word Tapatraya, and it usually indicates towards problems, but it is not actually indicating directly towards problems. That word is Tapatraya. 3 kinds of tapa at a physical, emotional and intellectual level. Another way to look at it is, all these 3 can be summed up into Adi Bhautika tapa. Physical, personal level tapa. That which I create for myself effortlessly. Physical level tapa. Adi Bhautika. Then there are those kinds of tapa which is not in my hands, which happens because of the nature, environment, climate, weather. You wanted to come and suddenly started pouring so strong that you could not drive. Adi Daivika tapa. And then Adhyatmika tapa. You could make it to the satsang, your health is also good, but Sahana Vavatu starts. And then you wake up fresh by the time it is Purnamadaha. Adhyatmika tapa. That you have the Shastra Krupa, you have Guru Krupa, you have Daiva Krupa, and all that is absent is Atma Krupa. And that agitation, that tapa created by lethargy, the inertia, let that be removed. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. To technically say that we started Ganesha Arthava Sheersha, let us chant the first mantra. Repeat after me. Om Namaste Ganapataye. Tvameva pratyaksham tattvamasi. Tvameva kevalam kartasi. Tvameva kevalam dhartasi. Tvameva kevalam hartasi. Tvameva sarvam khalvidam brahmasi. Tvam sakshadatmasi nityam. Namaste Ganapataye. Okay, now don't repeat. Namaste Ganapataye, meaning Namaste, कुछ नहीं समझते. I had to say it was rhyming too good. Whenever we say Namaste, it actually has two words in it. The Indian form of offering salutation, or the Hindu form of offering salutation, Namaste, is actually two words. Sanskrit, people who are learning Sanskrit, can you do Sandhi Vichhed? Oh, very good. This is pop quiz, testing on the spot. I am glad that it is not the other way condition. It is Namaha Te. Te is often used in terms of respectful addressing. Te, unto you. Namaha. I offer without reservations. Where did that without reservations come? Reservations exist in our manaha. Reverse that manaha. Namaha. And that is why we prostrate. That mind is offered at your feet. And who is it that I am offering it to? Not that individual, but to that Paramatma, to that life principle, to that God in you. I offer my salutations without ego or reservations. And that word is so beautiful. See, if that whole act had to be said in Sanskrit, Aham Namaskaram Karomi. In that verb, karomi, it indicates already aham. If the entire act is to say that I am doing it without that aham, the word also should indicate that. So here they say, Namaha te, salutations unto you. That aham and the verb adjoining that aham, both are deleted. Sanskrit grammar, even Sanskrit as a language and its grammar, very beautiful, very indicative. It's suggesting that a namaskara has its meaning only when that ego is put aside. With such an attitude of salutations, I offer my salutations to Ganapati. Ganapataye, unto that Ganapati, I am offering Lord Ganesha, I am offering these salutations. So, until tomorrow, keep offering the salutations. Tomorrow, we will see what Ganesh ji means and the rest of the meaning. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Those of you who don't have this copy with you, you can go to visit our website and get a printout of this Ganesha Arthava Sheersha in the Vedic chanting section. And from tomorrow onwards, you can also chant along with us. Hari Om.